I made the comment yesterday that from the standpoint of a slave, you have the Christian God advocating slavery. Who else are you going to make a deal with? Hey, devil, can you get me out of this? These Christians are here enslaving me. Can you help me out? Well, who wouldn't?
Right.
Now, obviously,
but then,
it's
as
all nonsense,
the devil himself has pointed out in a letter to the editor that's been widely circulated on the internet, he's like, look, if they made a deal with me, they wouldn't have 80% poverty in that country. That's not my style. Haiti would look like frickin' Dubai if they'd made a deal with me. Come on. So, no. But Satan doesn't appreciate the bad press.
Did you have a note on one of those or something?
No, I didn't, but I think old Jaffa's been holding for a while.
We got Jaffa in Bethlehem. How are you?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Thanks for waiting.
Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Kind of ironic, the name of the city, but my question today was...
Now, wait, is it Jaffa or Jaffa?
It's Jafar, Jafar.
Oh,
Jafar.
They left off a letter. Thanks.
Even spelled.
Jafar, yeah.
Okay.
Tons of people pronounce it Jafar. I start up a new semester tomorrow. It's probably going to happen again. Whatever.
That's all right.
I'm a junior pre-med major at Lehigh University, and on Tuesday I start up a class with the infamous Michael J. Behe. And I was wondering, and this is irreducible complexity, testified in court. We all know him. That guy. And I'm taking that course. It's my last semester as a pre-med. I'm pretty much have med school lined up. But what I want to do is I want to be able to challenge him on some of the ideas that he might throw in there about intelligent design, even though technically he's not supposed to. You know what's going to come up. But at the same time,
I don't know.
We don't know. We don't know what his class is like. So
right. But my question is, how do you think that I could be able to challenge him on this without possibly jeopardizing my academics in that class?
We're not the guys to ask.
First of all, we got no scientific expertise in the area, but the other thing is we don't know what he may or may not bring up. It depends on what he says. I couldn't possibly give you the best response. What I will say is that if he raises anything that deals with irreducible complexity, something that's not part of the curriculum, not part of science, not part of reality, it seems to me that one of the best things you could do is to not confront him directly and not disrupt his class, but to go talk to the department advisor about this and mention that, I was under the impression that I was actually going to be taking a real science class, and I get in here and he starts talking about irreducible complexity.
But I'm sure they know all about Behe down there at Lehigh.
But I'm sure that
the faculty has actually issued a public statement, which is something unprecedented. That
was the old. He's moved.
Right. So, wow. Yeah.
Take really good notes and be prepared. Be prepared to share them.
What's the name of the course?
It's physical biochemistry.
Okay. Yeah. We don't know if he'll bring it up or anything ID related at all. It could just be like nothing but the, a primer, basic facts on that. So.
All right then. I'll take a bunch and take notes. I might call in next week after I get a feel for the course, or if anything momentous happens relating to his vacuous BS, to put it polite.
To be fair, I'm clearly no fan of Behe, but there are, and I'm no fan of Francis Collins. But if Collins was teaching a course on genetics somewhere, I wouldn't automatically go in and assume that he's going to bring his evangelical Christian ideas into it any more than I would expect P.Z. Myers to talk about his atheism in his classes. I know that he doesn't. It just doesn't come up. And so you may very well take a course where it never comes up. You're there to learn. He's there to do a job. He may, if somebody else raises it, a student raises it, and then he talks about it, that may be different. But take good notes. There's a decent chance. That nothing goes wrong.
Yeah. And if you just want basic information to counter IC and some of these other intelligent design ideas, you could do a Google search for Kenneth Miller, irreducible complexity. Search all of those together.
I asked him about this on Darwin Day back in when he came to Philly.
Oh, all right.
And he said that apparently at Brown, biochem PhD students that take Behe's class know their biochemistry very well, and they're just fine.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking my call, and you guys have a good rest of the evening. All right.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much. That's a good call.
Yeah, it's, the fact is that you live in a country where 80 roughly percent of the population believes something that, we don't. Which means probably 80% of the professors that you've had as well, maybe not that high, because there is some negative correlation with not intelligence, education, sorry. But a significant portion of them have probably believed all kinds of stuff, and your science teachers probably believed things, and even disbelieved things that they taught you. The thing about religious belief is that people are particularly good, or often they're particularly good, at compartmentalizing it, keeping it entirely separate. It doesn't, like when Ryan called and said that, he didn't think this negative belief was going to have, any significant impact. Well, it's always going to have some impact, and there's always the potential for it to do tons of harm. But you can, through diligence, make sure, strive to keep that belief separate from other things. In much the same way that, using my coding example, you could just not use that particular constant in a different function.
Yeah, that just goes away.
It's a weird little way of, I don't know. To me, and this is one of the reasons why I briefly said that I didn't believe Ryan. I've said before that, when a theist tells me I believe this, I tend to believe them. I'll take them at their word. Now, more and more, depending on what the claim is, I find that I don't believe them. And what I believe is true instead is that, well, we've talked before about Dennett's belief in belief, but I think it goes beyond that, in that they're professing that they believe this and not actually accepting that it's true. They're kind of dipping their toe in the water to find out, I'd like to have a worldview that's consistent with reality. And one of the ways that I can do that is to compare my worldview to somebody else's. And where they differ, we can kind of go back and forth and see which one matches with reality. Now, if you actually care, that's as good a method as any. If you're in a position where this particular belief is so protected and segregated, then you're not going to benefit from it. You're going to be in a position that, for example, Ryan was in earlier, where he just had to say, I mostly want my beliefs to reflect.
Well, I think that happens a lot in Christian culture in America. If you've noticed how, Christians have Christian bookstores and Christian coffee houses and Christian music and Christian cable
side hugs
and Christian side hugs, and they have Christian bowling teams, like whatever and all of this serves to just sort of create a subculture within the mainstream of American culture that allows them to just sort of isolate themselves.
And that'd be fine.
If
their subculture didn't leak out like a pollutant.
Well, but then you're talking about it's homeschooling plays into this culture where they essentially, depending upon how fundamentalist they are, the facts that they are teaching their kids are not necessarily facts, and then they expect these kids to go off into the world as adults and function. So but you're right. You get this sort of insular little community that just doesn't want to hear a whole heck of a lot else. And then I think that's why you really get the lashing out when people like us and Dawkins and Hitchens, and suddenly atheism becomes popular and they don't really know what to do about it. Yeah. And we see a lot of that reflected in some emails we get. Why do you guys even have a show? What do you care? I mean,
Yeah, and Ken Ham said something similar about the atheist convention that's going on in Australia. A meaningless convention with a bunch of people talking about meaningless stuff without recognizing that it was all meaningless because they have a meaningless existence without God because there's no meaning. I don't think that word what you means what you think it means.
Yes, they don't. Yes, old Ken Ham just doesn't quite know what it means for something to have meaning.
Too funny.